So yeah, we are back to talk about totally irrelevant horror movies that we think are awesome. This one was actually my first time seeing it. I had to buy it. I had
It's
to go out,
am-
buy the DVD, watch it for the first time.
it's amazing that you love the things that you love and you've been able to avoid the film that we're
It's
talking about
so
today.
I guess we'll show kind of. I don't know if you can see like this is kind of like what I love. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
seems
and
like a
yet
huge part of your personality, Adam.
yeah, I never saw the movie.
And
Still
you
gotta watch
never saw
Mortal Kombat.
1994's Street Fighter, starring
Yeah,
none other
please
than
give us the.
Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia. How was that?
Hmm,
Was that good? Did I plop that in
that was
there?
That was solid. I mean, it was as much action as we could get at this time of night for this movie. No, I think we can. I think we can really get into this.
I
You want to let?
Adam, I have to start by saying I love this movie. I have always loved this
Hmm.
movie, and I will always love this movie.
Honestly, first watch through, I don't get any flack that it got. I mean, it's dealing with an absurd premise to begin with. It's a video game, fighting game of all things, and they came up with this vague story that kind of works. It turned Street Fighter into GI Joe, but it kind of works. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true. Well,
Blanc.
first off, I'm just gonna give you a brief summary of the Street Fighter film. Um, we're at it's Shadaloo, I believe, is the area in Asia. It's called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially, there's a warlord named General Bison. I don't. If you play any of the Street Fighter games, you'll be familiar with all the characters that I'll be talking about. So, if you don't, buckle up, Buckaroo. This is going to be a wild ride for you because this movie's crazy. But we have we essentially have a warlord, General Bison, who is slowly taking over Asia. It appears, and there are allied forces that are currently engaged with him, and this warlord kidnaps. I believe the number was 63, but kidnaps a bunch of relief workers and holds them hostage. Wants the absurd sum of $20 billion.
The ultimate Austin Powers,
Right. Yeah. So I remember them saying 20 the insane amount of $20 billion. I just started laughing. I was like, wow.
so
Wow.
the wildest part of the initial, that opening scene is Raul Julia has this ridiculous part of this requesting $20 billion to the supervillain, right? This over the top bad guy, but he plays it like so serious.
Okay. So I
darn
love
serious.
that guy so much. I think he's such an underrated actor, but this is why it's special, Adam. You have a cast of people who are a bunch of jabronis. They're a bunch of nobodies. They're really bad at acting, and you don't really expect that much watching a Street Fighter film. However, Raul Julia as General Bison hams it up so much. He's such a wonderfully classic actor and he eats up the scene, and every time he's on the screen, it's amazing.
Oh,
That
he
dude
does
is
a
amazing.
great job. It's actually absurd how well he acts such a gimmicky role. He plays it so serious, and then you have Jean-Claude over there who's just trying to get the world to stop spinning long enough to deliver his line. He looks like Raul Julia's got these crazy big, insane, intense eyes, and Jean-Claude's got spinning. I can't focus on anything crazy eyes, but that's.
Well, unfortunately, Adam, there is a reason why that's the case. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But before I explain the production of this film, which is a great story, I'm just going to say that to kind of cap off this synopsis, General Bison kidnaps workers, wants money, and it is the job of the allied nations it's a group of it's the UN is what it is. It's the UN army, but they can't call it the UN. So I think it's the Allied Forces or the Allied Nation Forces or something like that. Led by Jean-Claude Van Damme playing Colonel Guile, right?
He
And
really takes a hand-on approach as a colonel, which is what you like to see. He's
dude,
really
it's so great.
up front in the action. I think is what's missing from a lot of military today. Not a lot of colonels are drop kicking through ceilings. Which,
I agree. It gave me George Bush flying an aircraft in the Middle East vibes. I really enjoyed it. But no, and you know what? So
if my colonel's not roundhouse kicking somebody in the face, I'm not.
ah, dude, I love. There's so much about. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited to talk about this. I can't help it. So we got essentially the story with this movie is you get this is like a vehicle driven movie where you get an actor and you put the whole production behind that one actor, and that's not that uncommon for people like Jean-Claude Van Damme or Sylvester Stallone or whatever. You're just basing the production around them. So Van Damme gets this role. They're going to make this cheesy video game movie, and no one takes the production seriously outside of Raul Julia. There's some rumor that Van Damme was spending a crazy amount of money on cocaine every day. Coffee, yeah, sure. Coffee. And like the whole production was kind of a disaster. And it's amazing. They were able to clear, I think they made like 60 million on this. I think it was 30 million to produce. They made about 90 million. So they ended up making their money back, but this was like Tropic Thunder. That's literally what was going on with this movie it was exactly like Tropic Thunder where all the actors were just running amok. It was a fucking, oh my God, there it was. First Kersey. It doesn't matter because no one listens to us.
I win.
But so it was a huge disaster on the set. And then you have Raul Julia, who takes on the role of Bison because at this point he's actually sick with cancer, and he dies shortly after filming this film.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. It's a bummer. But he takes this role because his kids love Street Fighter, and it's just kind of his way of, kind of giving them something on his way out, which I thought was kind of cool.
That really changes the dynamic for a lot of it. That was my elbow.
But you can see how Raul Julia was the only one on set that seemed to take his role seriously.
His scenes were worth watching.
Oh man, he hams it up so much, dude. I could watch just him talking for like 2 hours. He's amazing.
Yeah.
But so we get a great setup here, Adam, where at the beginning of the movie you have all these different pseudo news clips. It almost has like a RoboCop vibe to it, but it's a bunch of different countries talking about Bison kidnapping these people. And honestly, I love the score at this point. I love the way it looks. It has this really gritty 90s charm to it. I'm totally on board at the beginning of this movie. It sucks me.
I'm on board throughout. I mean, there's a couple bits that Blanca, I have some issues there.
Wait. But I'm not going to say that I don't have a ton of issues with this movie, and it's mostly the fat in the middle that I think this could have been a 90-minute movie. I think this could have been, honestly, shorter, and it would have been a better film.
Yeah. It's well done for the subject matter. It has goofy subject matter, and they made a somewhat coherent story from it. It's fine. It's fun to see your character names run around with guns instead of just punching each other, I guess,
Yeah, sure. Well, you're also taking very bland video game characters and trying to give them some sort of interesting backstory, right, and then trying to intertwine all those stories together.
This was before we, Last of Us or any technology worth telling a real story.
That's
besides
true.
Like Zelda, but that was just text on screen,
Yeah, you know what? And even then, you're still kind of piecing together things. But what I really, the biggest flaw in this film it's the supporting cast, and I don't necessarily blame them because what was written for them was kind of dorky and cheesy, and all of it. This whole movie, unless you're Van Damme or you're Raul Julia, you are very quickly and vaguely describing your backstory, and then loudly, explicitly explaining what the group has to do next. And that's all the dialogue for every supporting character. They're either like, oh yeah, I'm an ex-boxer and I got screwed over by the evil Shaolin or whatever. And then the next thing he's like, we must close the gates. Like, that's all the dialogue for every supporting character. The only time it gets really good is whenever you see Van Damme's face and Raul Julia's face on the screen. Honestly.
I did kind of like the... if we're going to skip around here, but I did kind of like the end bits with the three boss showdown. Ken, Ryu, and Guile.
Yeah.
And their nemesis showdown. I thought that was kind of cool. That little.
If you're gonna
sort of backstory they made between Ryu, Ken,
Sure. If
Dad.
you're going to include that in the first place, you may as well close it off well, and that's the best way to cap that off between the three of them, you know. But let's talk about. So Guile is totally against paying this ransom, and he thinks they should go in full balls and go take on Bison one on one.
I mean, he does the what does that mean? Head up your arse salute to Bison as his response videos. He's requested the 20 billion.
This is so great because so you get this shot of these Allied forces rolling in, and the reporter is actually Chun-Li, who's a character in the Street Fighter series. But they may I can't stand her in this movie. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it from the front. She's the worst character. We'll get there, but she makes a huge foul that no one acknowledges in the film, and I can't believe it made it into the final cut. But we'll get there. It's crazy. It's crazy how bad of an actor this actress is.
Okay.
But they do this setup where they're trying to interview Guile. Guile's talking smack to Bison. Bison patches into the feed from his evil headquarters, and now Bison are having a conversation through the news, which I think is really cool.
As one would. Well, yes. I'm
just saying, it's really cool to see everyone, like all the newscast, everyone's reaction panning around. And this is a really interesting scene because I think this is written really deep for the type of movie that they're trying to create, where you had Van Damme essentially setting up a trap so he can track where Bison's location is, while simultaneously kind of letting Bison know he's going to get his ass kicked pretty soon. Right. And I thought that was super cool, especially for like a Street Fighter movie. I thought that was pretty unique, right? They don't get the signal because everyone's terrible at their jobs, and now they have to figure out another way to get to Bison, right?
Oh yeah. This is. I thought they got a vague signal.
No. They lost the signal, and this is where Ken and Ryu come in.
That's exactly why they got recruited. Okay,
yeah,
and they were just in this. They weren't anything, right? They're just like grifter kind of.
I never understood. They kind of made them. They played them out almost like anti-heroes, where like they're not necessarily bad or good. They're just kind of self-serving, but like they're charming enough that we like them. I gotta be honest with you. Again, they're included in this group of like this middle chunk of cast that I don't care.
It's true.
Like I don't care about these guys. They just, and like the dude got this real, Ken got this real Johnny Cage energy that I wouldn't have expected for Ken to have, the character Ken to have. Like it's just for me
I was kind of weirded out by Dawson being a scientist. Like that was interesting choice, but I saw
the transformation of his character, even the physical transformation of his character, kind of gets you to where he's at in the video game.
Right. But I thought it was an interesting choice off the bat that he was a doctor. I was like, okay.
I hate to say it, but I literally think they just hired the most famous Indian person they could cast at the time. I'm not kidding. I literally think they're like, who's the most famous Indian person in Hollywood? And I hate to say it, I don't even remember the actor's name, but he's in a whole bunch of stuff. He's in like Ace Ventura. He's in all kinds of crazy movies, and I can't remember the actor's name. But he's one of those familiar faces from the 90s that usually he sneaks in there once in a while.
The guy. He's the guy.
I remember that guy.
Guy from the thing, he does the stuff. He's always, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So while this is all going on, it turns out you have Chun-Li who has recruited two guys who've been wronged in the criminal underground by the criminal underground world or something, and she has created this little group of her, E Honda, which is the sumo guy. And
I wish he had a bigger part, man. He was always my favorite.
Wait, you wanted him to have a bigger part in this movie?
Yeah, I wanted to just see his Fist of Fury once, or just see him do the belly flop. Just one of his specials.
That's fair.
That's all I needed.
He's
two good ones.
I forgot the Balrog.
Ah, thank you. I was racking my brain. I could not remember that guy's
So
name.
we got
Okay.
the sumo E Honda and the boxer Balrog, who have somehow been wronged by this criminal underground, and now they have teamed up.
Yeah, I don't get their story.
Well,
either.
you know what? Their story is told in 5 seconds. Really quickly, they're like, "Oh, I was wronged, and now I'm doing the good," and that's it. Then we move on immediately.
Yeah. And now they're part of the resistance, but that's not the army, though, right?
And you know what? Chun-Li's story in this film is essentially that Bison had rolled into her family's village when she was younger and killed her family. So this was like a slow burn revenge plot for her. I'm on board with that. The random sumo and the boxer just helping her out because some reason.
I mean, I guess they needed filler, and those were characters, free. If they got the rights, you gotta put them in somewhere.
Yeah, of course. But you probably put 5 more minutes of effort into tying them
I
together.
mean, this is around the era of, or I guess this is after Gremlin, or around the era of Gremlins 2, where just anything went in,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
I mean, going back to the conversation with the production being kind of crazy, I really think they were just trying to get stuff on film. Like, just say your name and where you come from. We'll film it real fast. We'll cut it into the movie quickly, and that'll be... I mean, even... So you have Guile, Cammy, and...
Cammy doesn't really have much of a story either. I mean, she's just there.
She serves her purpose.
I'm telling you, it's G.I. Joe, but they just switched names out with Capcom names.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it was. There's no Cobra. Instead, it's just Zangief.
Well, they have, I don't know, Apache with them? T-Hawk, I believe his name is, and he's just a white dude with a headband on, and he sneaks in real fast. He's like, this is an Apache headband. And then you're just supposed to go, oh, that makes you a special character, because you're...
Yeah. I don't... This would have been, like, Street Fighter 2 Turbo era stuff, right? Like, this would have been...
Yeah, I think this would have been following Street Fighter 2.
That's some special editions that I don't know.
I don't know. And I don't know why Chun-Li becoming a news reporter is a part of her revenge plot. Maybe it gets her close to the danger or something. I don't know, but that's a weird... I don't know.
It allowed her to align herself with people to get her to that position, something like that. That's kind of how she justifies it.
Well,
when he gives his awesome speech. I mean...
Van Damme's speech, but with their conversation, but the conversation between Van Damme and Bison at the beginning of this movie is awesome.
Your favorite bit, Bison and Chun-Li.
Oh, dude, that's such a great scene. Oh God, it's every time, but it doesn't. And you know what's cool? This only adds to my point. Raul Julia is so good at acting that every time he's in the frame with one of these goofy jabroni actors that are terrible, he makes them better. Like, he makes them better actors, where now the 30 seconds they're with Raul Julia, they're way more believable than they are in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that chunk of the movie in a little bit. First, I have a lot of questions here. So, essentially, you have the three of them teaming up for against Bison and Saget, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because they're gonna do some sort of.
Is Zagat's just a bad guy because he's just like the prison bad guy at this point, right? Like,
yeah.
Why is...
So he.
Oh no, he's running the underground fighting ring.
Yeah, he's like an underboss. For what's going on in that area, and then he eventually, I guess they're setting up a deal between this underground evil group is now making an arms deal with the evil warlord Bison and his army, and the boxer, the sumo, and the little Chinese lady are gonna put a stop to all of it. They're gonna get them all at one go.
Yeah, but then it's somehow... How does it wind up to be Ryu versus Vega?
Okay, so this is funny. You have the three we've been talking about are trying to do their own revenge plot to take all the bad guys out, right? Simultaneously, you have Ken and Ryu that, like I said, they're these anti-heroes that apparently are just trying to make a buck. They seem to be just kind of common level criminals.
They're hustling, like the whole kind of playing, like they can't fight. stuck in this tournament and
we're led to believe that they're doing shady stuff, but they're good guys because they're gonna sell fake guns to the bad guys, so the bad guys have fake guns.
That scene. That was my favorite.
That actually wasn't too bad. It kind of turns this.
Great.
It kind of sets the tone for this movie to be more funny than what I think that the original writing was supposed to be for it. But it was entertaining.
I think it plays better if it is a tongue-in-cheek, goofy movie than if it took itself seriously.
That's true.
I mean, watch the movie. It can't be that serious. But like the rockets to the face and stuff up close, like the darts, that was great.
If you had a cast as strong as your two leads, I think you could have taken it a little bit more seriously. But because everyone is a goofy actor that I can't take seriously, you may as well just be silly because it's all ridiculous anyways.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
all right. So now we get to where Ken and Ryu get busted by the underground warlords for selling the fake guns, and now they're kind of being held hostage and being forced to participate in this fighting tournament, this underground fighting tournament, where we're introduced to Saget's right-hand man, and he's kind of the underboss, Vega, who's a classic from the video games. He, the claws. He had the sweet claws. He was kind of like a matador, right?
I love even further down in the movie when they go to prison, and Vega's only super special ability is that claw. He just magically makes one out of bone in prison.
Yeah, somehow he got a sweet. Oh, dude. Well, you know what? The gimmick in the video game was always the mask and the claw. So when you see it on film, you see the mask and the claw, you just mark out if you know Vega from the video game. You're like, oh, dude, that dude's bad. Right. So while this is all going on, it turns out Ken and Ryu somehow convinced these guys that they could be useful to them, and they're going to help them with something.
Yeah, but I thought, isn't this when Guile convinces them to work for the army somehow? Aren't they like the plants in the underground system at this point?
I don't think at this point they are. I think what happens is they all get arrested. Everybody gets busted at the same time when they're trying to do their arms deal.
Yeah.
Right? And while everybody's arrested by this allied forces, Guile pulls Ken and Ryu to the side and goes, "You're not like the rest of these guys."
Oh yeah, that's right, because it's the Vega Ryu fight. Guile just comes in with a tank.
Yeah, but they literally burst in and arrest everybody.
Break through and I like to think that actually was just they were rolling the camera. It was supposed to be a normal fight scene, and Van Damme happened to drive through in the tank, and they were just like, well, we paid for it. Let's just leave it in there.
I now choose to believe that as well, making the movie even better.
He says some ridiculous line that doesn't make sense, but he's trying to drive to his trailer that day, chooses his tank, and drives through the set, and that's how it wound up in the movie. That's
dude. Van Damme's so awesome. Van Damme gets away with murder in this movie, and I'm not meant literal murder. I mean, he gets away with clocking his performance in, and it makes it good. He clearly is just there's a line between him and Bison where they're going back and forth, and Van Damme just calls him a dickhead. Just you're a dickhead. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah. Yeah. And
he's like, up yours, dickhead. And it's just like, whoa, where did that come from, Jean-Claude?
He has some terrible one-liners about being like a real estate company closing taxes to come after someone.
Or like a repo man, and I've come to get my... Yeah, he actually drops that similar line 3 or 4 times in this movie. Yeah. I've come to collect. Whatever. You know what? It's fine. JVC, he can do it.
He's got that bleach blonde hair. He totally passes for an American soldier. They slapped on that tattoo.
He has a tiny little American flag on his arm. But you know what, though? He's jacked, and he's awesome.
Oh, my God.
And his confidence is amazing in this movie.
Well, I mean...
he carries himself like a pimp, dude. He literally, even walks like he's a pimp in this movie, and I love it.
He walks like he's out of the video game because,
You know what's crazy? Did you notice his accent getting worse throughout the movie? Like as the movie goes on, it's harder to understand what Van Damme's saying. Like his French.
The bender got longer, I'm sure. So it was harder for him to function.
Dude, there's a scene where Van Damme is having back and forth with this Japanese soldier, and it's so funny because half of it is Van Damme trying his hardest to try to make the English work, and the rest of it is this guy who's clearly being overdubbed. Like, there's clearly someone with a microphone trying to repeat this guy's lines, and it's dude, this is so funny. So where are we at, Adam? Where we are at the point.
So we got the tanks. We're about to have the staff meeting in High Kicks. We lost over. Blanca gets created because Bison finds out that Blanca is actually like a person in this film.
Yeah, so
right?
it's his Guile's best friend Charlie is one of the people that was kidnapped by Bison, and right at the end of their exchange at the beginning, he makes some remark like, "Charlie, if you can hear me, I'm gonna find you," and as he says that, Bison, it's so good too. This is what I'm saying. It's all this should be so cheesy, but watching Raul Julia slowly turn his head and look at his friend and go, "Oh, you're his little buddy, huh? Well, this is gonna get interesting." Like he immediately gave up his friend, and Bison just starts salivating at what he's gonna do to God. Like, oh, I love it.
It is pretty great, and just it's an interesting way to go. And then they shove him in a tank, and
yeah. So that's another kind of subplot here, is that not only is Bison like a warlord who's trying to take over the world, but he's also using scientists to help create like a super soldier, kind of like a Bane or something.
Right.
And they're going to use Guile's best friend as the first run at this super soldier.
Yeah, and up till now they just throw him in a tank of water, or just like...
Yeah, so it seems to be some sort of weird tank where it's this audio-visual...
They show the bags. It's like mutagen and radioactive, because there's like it's a mixture, because there's an orange and there's a green bag, and one's like...
which ironically are Blanca's colors, so like...
It's so strange. Yeah, one's mutagen and the other's like radioactivity or something like that.
Yeah, well, you know what I got a kick out of is... They stick like a VR headset on him and just show him like images of, like people crying and warfare, and it's just like sad stuff, and he's just going
in this tank full of like water, and just closes up to the tank in that noise.
And as that's going on, there's a screen on the outside of the tank of like a little man, and it's like 50% more power, 60%, and he's
and I love how the progression of Blanca is just clearly they just got a slightly more muscular actor to take over at this point now, right? Like it's not the same guy anymore.
Oh man, the makeup's real goofy on him too. They definitely gave up quickly on that project.
Looks like the caveman from the Geico commercial.
Dude, I thought the same thing rewatching this visit. Yeah,
like that's not some Amazon like monster guy. You're just a green caveman. Like, what are you doing?
So we're here now, where Guile is now asking Ryu and Ken to work for him in exchange for their freedom, and what they're going to do is they're going to put a homing device on Sagat, whatever. I think his name is pronounced differently throughout this movie. I don't know. Regardless,
as a man that ruins his hearing and watches everything with subtitles, they spell it Sagat like the game, but they do pronounce it differently the whole time.
I don't think anyone's taking this project seriously, so everyone just kind of wing it. But you know what? They did that in the Dark Knight trilogy too. They kept saying Ra's al Ghul, and it's Raish. It's always been Raish, and they mispronounce his name the whole time. But I digress. So they're gonna put a. Oh my god. Fuck, I had to sneeze. I'm sorry. They're going to put a tracking device on Sagat. They're going to track an arms deal, and Ken and Ryu are going to be Guile's men on the inside, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think that's when they get caught selling the fake weapons after that, isn't it?
No. They get caught selling the fake weapons, and that's what introduces them, and that allows Guile to sit down with them and be like,
somehow because the only reason they infiltrate Zaggett's thing is because they rat Chun-Li out as a reporter, but I forget how that happens.
Well, so we're right now. This is where we're at. They agree to work with Guile, right? Kind of begrudgingly, kind of against their will, but they agree.
Oh, and, there's a prison fight scene.
Yeah, so not only is there a prison fight scene, but there's this hilarious assassination attempt on Colonel Guile's life by this ninja waiter that I thought was really funny. I got a kick out of. So there's this ninja guy who's serving drinks at this military meeting, and then he throws the tray down and jumps up on the table in front of all of them and is like, "Hiya!" and then runs over with a knife and tries to stab Guile. And of course, Van Damme just quickly dispatches him like a gangster. But I just thought that was such a funny way to try to assassinate somebody. Instead of just sneaking up and stabbing him, he literally throws the tray down, jumps on the table, goes, "Ha!"
Yeah, but Van Damme knocks him out with a kick too, though.
Yeah, he sweeps his legs out.
Yeah,
he sweeps him
with his leg.
But then we have so this is how they agree to fake Colonel Guile's death. Or let me rephrase that. Right. Colonel Guile fakes his death, very Dark Knight-esque, and allows Sagat and Ken and Ryu and everyone to escape. So then they can track them to go back to Bison.
And then they throw Chun-Li under the bus. Then they get in with Sagat.
Yes.
Now it's all adding up. So
then now we're in this chunk of the movie where, for me, it kind of starts to die down because it's more about the supporting cast at this point than the two mains.
I mean, E. Honda's wardrobe is great. I love his Hawaiian shirts in this film. I mean, he's got some real great color combinations. Kind of want to know where they got him. Could be my new summer look. Wish I was joking, but I want actually every single one
to wear E. Honda's production shirts.
I just want to wear E. Honda from Street Fighter's Hawaiian shirts. Is that a line? Can I get those? Is that Roosevelt's? Are you making those?
So we get Ken and Ryu. They end up going back to this big party celebration with Sagat and Vega and that crew, where they're now gonna sit down with General Bison and his army. They're gonna party together and discuss an arms deal, right?
And join forces, yes.
Yeah,
everything is.
While Ken and Ryu are sitting there, kind of wigging out and being like, "What are we doing? This is crazy." Chun-Li, E. Honda, and what Balrog is that? Nutsack. I can't stand that guy.
Did we skip over before we go into the Bison's lair the market scene?
No. That's where we're at. We're at it's kind of like it kind of looks like a big outdoor flea market in the middle of the night.
Type feel. Did you catch the again, because I'm deaf, the one sales pitch to somebody's trying to sell a chopper to somebody that's walking by, and they're trying to bill it as chopper only used once from U.S. Embassy in Saigon. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I think at this point, like I said, at this point in the movie, I'm kind of dragging a little bit. The middle of this movie doesn't do me well.
It was just there. I mean, yeah, you're right. A lot of it could got cut out. I mean, they also didn't need to do the Terminator ending for Bison, I don't know.
Yeah, well, what? Oh, dude. Okay, wait, hold on. So we're at this party, and there's this really cool scene where essentially Sagat's like, all right, so we're going to give you the weapons. You're going to pay us. Bison hands him a big case of money. And it's this currency that Bison had created with his face on it. Oh, yeah.
Again, because he's like the ultimate spoof-off supervillain. He just makes...
Well, no, here's the best part. Of course, the arms dealer is like, this is ridiculous. I want real money. What the hell are you doing? And Bison has the best response to, he goes, I'm going to kidnap the Queen of England and force the Bank of England to adjust the currency so that my Bison dollar is 5 times more valuable than British pound. and I got to kick it. Like, he just straight face, like, oh, I'm going to kidnap
Had
the king.
most ridiculous plan out the gate to just, that's instantly how I was going to fix the currency.
And
Like,
straight,
that's,
and he's like, what is this garbage? Well, I'm going to kidnap the Queen of England, so it's going to be much
yeah, I
more
already got
valuable.
that handle. She's being kidnapped on Tuesday, and then I got to get laundry detergent, groceries, and
Readjust the
yeah,
currency, and then we're good.
Everything will be done by then. It will have it be printed.
Yeah, that's kind of psychotic. So of course, Sagat like is like, "Whoa, this is ridiculous! No, shut it down." And there's this awesome, like Mexican standoff between the arms dealers gang and the hey kitty and Bison's soldiers, where they're both lined up on each side of the room, and as Ken and Ryu are talking about their circumstances and how deep in they are, like, oh, we're screwed, this can't get any worse, they walk right into the middle of this Mexican standoff, get pulled apart and separated, where now each of them are being forced to take a side, and it's amazing. It's so amazing. Like, the comedy works here, at least in this part of the film.
It does. And I mean, Capcom never really... Street Fighter was kind of less serious game, you know, compared to Mortal Kombat that had more blood, you know.
Yeah,
Street Fighter was always more
even
about
if it
being
was
goofy
kind of
combos. It was easier to pull off the combos and stuff in Street
Yeah.
Fighter than it was in Mortal Kombat.
Well, you know what? This got a PG-13 release, which I was kind of shocked by.
I can see that.
And-
Well, wait, no. Why?
I'm sure that Van Damme calling Bison a dickhead
Oh,
didn't help.
I forgot the language. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I don't know. You know what? And there's a couple times where Raul Julia gets like scary. Like he starts talking about God and the devil.
I don't think he can help that. I think he's just
He's just naturally scary,
he's got
dude.
the eyes. Like no matter what he says, like
That's actually funny. That's actually really funny. So, as this weird standoff is going on, Chun-Li and her squad of Goofy 2 guys, are rigged a video to start playing, or a video feed to start playing in the middle of this Mexican standoff, saying, oh, while you guys are arguing, we're going to blow all of you up with this truck. It's like this truck gimmick where they're going to run a truck into the tent with explosives.
yeah, so I thought the way they made it sound was like we're gonna get rid of all your explosives and save the world by blowing up all your explosives.
By exploding the explosives.
You have dangerous explosives. If exploded, could kill the world. So we're going to remedy that by blowing them up.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you do with chemicals when trains spill.
Well, it's
But,
yeah. Welcome to Western Pennsylvania, Ohio. Like, Jesus. But so this is where it's kind of they like reveal. They do this classic Bond villain thing where they reveal their plan too early, and they just leave. Like Bison and so all the guys, they just leave.
All right, got that hand.
All right, everybody get out of this room and go to a different room, and they just shut the plan
We're gonna go
down.
lurk somewhere else.
Well, the kicker is because Ryu and Ken are in this predicament, they rat out Chun-Li and the other two, and that's what gives them the in with Bison and Sagat, and allows all of them to now go back to Bison's base with Chun-Li, E Honda, Balrog. They're prisoners now, and the Ken and Ryu are now ingratiated as one of them. They're the spies, and they worked. The moles are in now, right? That's where we're at.
Right.
Then this is actually pretty cool. They return back to Bison's base, and he starts not only does he kind of start revealing his plan and he's trying to talk to him, but he says something to the effect like, pay attention, this is going to be a learning experience for you guys. Like, you're about to see something amazing happen. And he's referring to him literally taking over the world. And it's, chills, man. I love Raul Julia. He's so good, dude.
Are we,
So wait. So Bison sends Chun-Li to his private quarters. He tells them to take Chun-Li to his private quarters.
Are we at your part yet? But yes, we are, yeah.
And they send the two idiots to get tortured, which is an interesting scene.
Yeah.
During them getting tortured, your guy, E Honda, does the one cool thing in this movie while he's being tortured. He's no-selling it. He's not even flinching. He's not making any noises.
Yeah.
And they're getting furious while they're torturing him because it doesn't seem to have any effect. But as soon as they leave the room, E Honda immediately is like, oh God, this is so bad.
Doesn't he say some line? Doesn't Balrog say like, "How do you do that?" And he says some line about being sumo, so he can withstand anything.
Yeah, we got to drop that a few more times.
I don't. Yeah. In case you forgot why I'm a large man in this garment.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then this is so great. This leaves Chun-Li is now in Bison's private quarters. And this is what I was referring to earlier, Adam. When you have Raul Julia in a scene with these jabronis, he literally makes them better. Because this is the first time in the movie where the actress playing Chun-Li says something where I don't roll my eyes back into my head so far that I black out. Right?
She wasn't. I mean, really, I don't think she was as bad as you.
Ah, dude, the most. I don't even understand. I think
it's unwarranted. I think it's.
Dude, no. I guarantee you, people watching this film, when anybody hearing this that are going to watch this film for the first time after
one of you, do you like?
Yeah, leave a comment and let us know how you feel. But she's awful, Adam. She's so bad. When she throws a tracking chip on the truck, she does this unnecessary somersault roll into the. It's so everything she does is so goofy.
Chun-Li from the video game, her whole outfit was unnecessary.
Bro,
I mean, like, what do you? Come on.
We didn't talk about this, but when Chun-Li and Ken and Ryu they meet for the first time, they like meet in a tent before they go to blow up Bison. If you watch, the actress playing Chun-Li takes a knife out of her kimono and stabs him. But no one sells it. No one talks about it. And then she just pulls a knife back, and then they just have a conversation. And I don't know how that slipped into the final cut of the movie. Yes, go back and watch it again when they meet. They're in a tent, and she got the mask on because they're doing the undercover thing, right?
It's the ninja, yeah.
And she pulls like the ninja knife out of her kimono and walks up and stabs one of them. He doesn't react to it, and then they just like, well, who are you? I am Ken and Ryu. And it's just, it's cringy, dude. Like, and it's her.
Right.
It's this actress.
I mean, that's not necessary. It's not her fault that no one reacted to the stab. It's just bad writing, right?
Or she just did it. Or maybe it wasn't written. And
she just stabbed somebody?
Yeah.
So, like, all right. If you give me that Jean-Claude just rolled through set on a tank, I'll give you that she just maliciously stabbed that.
I guess so, man. But she stinks. But this scene here is easily one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie because
you keep throwing it up. Would you talk about it already?
The dialogue, bro. So Chun-Li goes on, and as this is building up so great too, because Chun-Li's all in a sexy outfit, right? She's now like sexed up for Bison. They put her.
Yeah, there's some.
And now, like Austin Powers, he's behind a changing station, putting on something sexy, and they're like setting the mood. Bison's gonna get some tonight, and she makes this epic. She does this epic stand to him, where like, you came into my village and you killed my family, or you killed my father and these people I knew.
Destroyed,
and since,
business and stuff.
Deadpan's totally serious. And I've been waiting for this moment this entire time. And now I'm in a room with you. And she like just starts again, the second time in the film where she starts revealing her master plan too soon. Right. But she says something to the effect of like, I've been thinking about this moment my entire life. And he walks up to her. Raul Julia delivers this excellent line where he goes, "The day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday." And it's so ice cold and it's so gangsta. I literally, every time he says it, I'm like, oh, shit, Bison.
Again, there you have a ridiculous just line, but it's his delivery. You're right. It's his.
Hamming it up. It's so good, dude. And he's believable. I believe every word he's saying.
He reminds me of It's the Eyes, but Christopher Lloyd from Who Framed Roger Rabbit at the end.
Do you remember me, Eddie? Do you remember me when I killed your brother? yeah, that's burned. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen when I was a kid. That Christopher Lloyd was in my nightmare.
My God.
Oh, that's so scary.
Ranked
But
right up there with the puppets from Sound of Music for me.
really, that's interesting.
The mother-in-law puppet, like the human mother-in-law puppet with the big eyes, horrified me as a child, man.
That's interesting.
And the goats were also creepy.
We're kind of where this is like a Freudian experiment where we're learning about each other.
Going down the rabbit hole, we're only on episode 2. Woo.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, so back to this. Now this is I apologize in advance. This may sound misogynistic, but I love this line where she's like, "Well, I'm gonna end you. Basically, I'm bringing you down right now," and he's like, "You don't fight at all. I haven't seen you do nothing. You have these two guys do everything for you. Like, you really think that I'm scared of some broad? Like, are you?" And he literally is like, "Are you kidding me? Like, get out of my face!" And immediately she does this jump kick across the room and kicks him straight in the face like a gangster. And
I loved it.
Dude, I was like, "Oh!" And she just starts whooping his ass, dude. She starts whooping Bison's ass. This little Chinese girl.
For like half a second, though, doesn't it? Like the fight scenes with him up until this point are just basically like, I'm Bison and I get hit. Okay, I grab you by the throat and now I win the fight. Like,
well, so I think what happens is her crew escape from getting tortured and they show up in the room. There's those two.
That's right.
And they kind of distract Chun-Li for a second where they burst in the room like, "We're coming to help." And she's like, "What are you doing here?" And what he does is he jumps behind this door, locks down the room, and then gasses everybody in the room. And then has this maniacal, crazy laughter behind the glass while everyone's choking.
Yeah, he's a real good bad guy.
Dude, he hams it up. He's so good. It's like...
Again, it's a super hammy role. I don't have... Whereas the last movie was, they took very real concepts and made them way too ridiculous to be believable. Here we're working with very ridiculous concepts, and they're somehow, mostly by Mr. Julia here.
Yeah, he carries this whole movie on his back, dude.
Yeah,
gangster. Yeah. So this is another great scene in the movie too. So this is now we're getting into the final third of this film, and this is one of my favorite parts of this movie.
The boat attack.
Well, so. Now, because at this point, it appears that Bison is in the advantage seat, right? Like he has his whole crew of people under, he got them captured now. It doesn't appear that anyone's going to stop him. While this is going on, the politicians that are in charge of all this are telling Guile to stand down. We're going to pay the ransom. We're going to pay this crazy person.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do anything. Go on TV, say you're sorry, we're going to pay the ransom, get the people back, and we'll figure this out later, right? So they set up this podium where Van Damme is going to tell everybody they're going to pay the ransom, and instead he goes, "They said they told me they're going to pay. I think that's bullshit, and I'm going to go kick his ass by myself if I have to." And he does this Braveheart level speech where he just gets everybody super jacked. And collectively, the Allied Forces Army decides, we don't care what we're being told. We're all just going to follow Guile straight into battle. Like, let's do this. Like a gangster.
And he'd already gotten fired because then, like, the dude's like, "Tell him to stop." And he's like, "I just got fired. I can't."
Yeah,
he just,
they fire Guile for doing that, for going against what they told him to do. And then while they're trying to rein in everybody, they're like, "Well, you got to tell them to stop." And he's like, "Well, I would, but you just fired me, so I guess we got to..."
And it's full-blown revolt while getting fired.
So gangster. And then Guile gets into this sweet Batman-level futuristic boat that can go invisible.
But the best part of the Batman boat, because
I'm already so excited. You're so happy. I'm so excited to hear this.
Oh my god, it goes invisible, right? And they pull it up like 4 different times because, Bison has 3 layers of defense, so he scans it once for this and it doesn't show up, scans it again, and they go visual. You still don't see the boat, but nobody can figure out why the radar systems are blowing up. And then it shows the boat and the gun that comes out. isn't a camouflage gun. You would just see this big piece of metal.
Yeah. Dude, it looked cool.
You
All
never
right.
see it. They're like, I don't know why it's not blowing up.
And it's like navigating a minefield. Like they got these. Oh, dude, it's so cool.
Isn't it go underwater at a point too? Like it's
I don't know. I just know that it's the coolest piece of machinery outside of Bison's desk. But we'll get to that too, because he does.
Robotnik essentially,
Dude. So now I was never a big Street Fighter guy growing up, right? Like I loved the movie, never really into the games. I wasn't a Super Nintendo guy. I was kind of a Sega guy, right? But
Fair.
how do you pronounce the Indian doctor's name who is working on?
I've always called him Dalsum, but I don't know if that's correct.
Dalsum sounds good to me. So we're going back to Charlie, who's Blanca in his anger tank, right? And it turns out that Dalsum is now...
Every young man goes through that stage.
Yeah, right? Of course. It's puberty in a nutshell, just very quickly. But no, now he reprograms it, so now Blanca, for the rest of it, is like seeing pictures of puppies and babies laughing, and like is now being programmed to go the other way. So he's like half evil.
Just so happens to be right at the 50% mark is where he stops the download.
So
right there you got like half red, half blue, one little
exactly.
meter.
Yeah, it's where we see the visual of him literally being half evil, half good. Well, he's like puppies,
like photos of his wife. It's like some of the uploads are like his wedding day and stuff, like Dalsum's wedding and stuff.
Yeah, right. There's pictures of him and like, and Blanca's in the tank, like, huh? So
it's just him, bearskin rug, fire. You're just like, wait.
Dude, that's so funny. Oh, dude, that's so genius. We need to do a comedy sketch about that. That's a brilliant idea.
Just keeps evolving. It's essentially Canteen Boy, but it's Dalsum and Blanca.
Yeah, and Blanca's in the tank, like, huh? What?
Dalsum slowly grooming Blanca. Like, what's
Dude, I'm gonna think about that every day for the next for the next week. And oh, dude, that's beautiful. Thank you. So as this is going on, Dalsum is discovered by the guards, which ultimately leads to him releasing Blanca and Blanca fighting to protect Dalsum, right?
Yeah.
As this is going on, Guile shows up. He shows up at the secret lab where he finds his friend Charlie as Blanca, and he goes to shoot him. Dalsum goes, "Don't! He still has the potential for good."
Right. I'm not human. He's still human. No, he's not. And then they get into this, he knows good versus bad moral debate.
Would you shoot him just for not knowing the difference between good and bad? And I'd be like, no, I would shoot him because he's a monster and he's scaring the shit out of me right now.
Again, Makeup did a pretty poor job making him. He's just Green Caveman still. So you know, I guess.
And he's like in the back like like Frankenstein, like
yeah, scared of the torches.
It's so cringy. But anyways, this leads up to one of the coolest scenes in the movie where
Temple and the cigarettes.
where Dalsum makes sweet love to Blanca in the liquid chair. No, so as this is going on, Bison is upstairs in his sweet mega fortress room, right? Where he now tells the people that he kidnapped, that are all in this cell, that they were going to pay, but now they're coming to get you, but I defeated them already, and now I'm going to kill you just to show them what's up.
And they check the bank account, right? Because somebody's like, they did say they were going to send the money, and they
Yeah.
they pull the computer screen, and it pulls up the
$0
bank account, and it's balance 0.
And he's like, well, I guess we got to murder everybody now.
Bison's like, did they pay us? And the guy's response is, hell no.
Hell no. Yeah, DJ is like the randomly placed like 90s black dude who just has like all the quips. He's like some is he Jamaican? They paid me, man.
And other stuff.
Yeah, I can't pinpoint his accent, but that act is actually pretty funny too.
Yeah.
That DJ guy. And you know what? He tells the hostages that he's not gonna that they don't deserve the dignity of a firing squad. They don't deserve the martial respect of a firing squad. They're gonna get ripped apart by a beast. He's gonna kill them all with a beast, he says. It's so epic, right?
Oh yeah.
And so now he's gonna bring up Blanca from the basement up into the room to kill everybody. Jean-Claude takes the advantage and jumps into the Blanca tank. Right?
And
so now the tank comes up through the floor, and Bison's like, "Here we go, everybody watch!" And they got this sweet barricade made of knives to keep Blanca from hurting anybody else. Like all these sweet knives come up to the floor. The door opens. There's smoke. Here comes Van Damme with a flying kick out of the tank straight to Bison. That's so epic, dude.
It's truly. There's not much fighting in this movie called Street Fighter. Truly, there isn't. But when there is, man, it is great.
It's so cool, and it turns into like the final in battle engagement where everyone's fighting now. All the Allied forces, all of Bison's men are all fighting each other.
Zagat's fighting Ken. You have Vega fighting Ryu, and you got the big Bison and Guile showdown.
We're forgetting one of the coolest showdowns is between your boy and Zangief.
Oh, when he doesn't he like rip open the they're all chained down or something. He rips open the gate, right? Honda like breaks him free, and then
yeah. Well, so Zangief, if you're familiar with the Street Fighter series, is like this super giant jacked Russian dude. Right, or wherever he's from, but he's played as like this giant.
Yeah, well, USSR I think is in the game, right?
Russia. That would sound about. Yeah, that's crazy how long ago it's been that we're. Anyways, so Zangief is a comic relief in this movie where he's like this big brute who doesn't understand.
He doesn't really do anything up until this point. He's just kind of.
Why is this happening? I don't understand.
I can move things. Yeah, I move. Everyone else is fighting, but me.
So then Zangief and E Honda run into each other and have this sweet fight where these two brutes are now beating the hell out of each other. And it's so funny. They go into like Bison's planning room with all of his miniatures and stuff, and they start smashing through his miniatures while they're fighting, and they start playing Godzilla sound effects over their fight. It's comic genius.
Oh, did we? Talking about sound effects, how about the reggaeton or like weird reggae fusion funk sounds that are playing as Jean-Claude fondly remembers his wife or something in a boat scene? Like he's having like a real somber moment for a minute over something, and there's like some weird reggae funk playing.
So the music in this movie is kind of like cheesy, and it feels very like stock music, except for the intro. The fight scene between Chun-Li and Bison, and the music played at the end while Guile is fighting Bison. There's 3 pieces of music in this movie that are so good. Like, they're too good to be in a movie like this. And they're just randomly placed in between all this garbage stock music that just...
I mean, some of the best music, man, comes from the weirdest places, dude. Like,
I think I'm gonna go and look up the soundtrack for this movie and see if I could find some of the pieces in the film, because, like I said, there's 3 sections where the music's so good, it doesn't make any sense. But so as everyone's fighting each other, we can go into detail if you want, but essentially all of the good guys in all of these different random fight scenarios overcome the bad guys. So
it was real touch and go there for a minute for some of them, but they did in fact pull through.
As if it was going to be any different, honestly.
It was, it was quite the plot twist, especially Guile. You think at the end is gone. He doesn't show up. And it's a tearjerker. We're all crying, and
I forgot. This movie ends with everybody dying and Bison winning. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
This movie ends in the best possible way, and it is.
Well, so we get to this really cool setup for the final confrontation between the 2 main characters in the movie, where they're standing on a catwalk talking smack to each other. And behind Bison shows up all these soldiers with guns pointed at Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he thinks he's by himself, and he pulls out this little knife, and he's like, all right, I guess I'll take all you on. And they all start backing down, and then the camera turns around to Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he is now surrounded by Allied Forces soldiers. I thought that was kind of funny. You know?
I thought the knife was like a nice nod to the comb that he threw in the game.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's probably what it was. They just couldn't
trying to represent. Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't just pull out a comb there. People would probably be confused.
Right.
But
that's at least what I took it as. But
no, I get it. I totally see that.
Yeah,
for sure. I wouldn't have picked up on that right away, but as you're saying it now, it makes a lot of sense why they went that direction. And don't get me wrong, as ridiculous as this film is, they do a lot of nods to the video game.
Oh, M. Bison's whole control panel.
Yes,
for the whole movie
on his. Dude, I want that desk.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's like it is an arcade machine tabletop on his desk that he controls the desk with. Yeah, that's kind of cheesy for the market, but the desk is so cool that I can't even hate on it at all. Which this is so great. It leads to this conversation between the two of them where Bison basically says like, a real man would go and do this unarmed combat. Like you and I should settle this mano a mano. And the soldiers behind Guile are like, don't do it, sir. That's what he wants. And Van Damme has this really sick line. He goes, no, that's what both of us want. And I'm just like, yeah, here we go. And they start fighting. And Guile actually starts kicking the shit out of Bison. It's like I'm like, oh, well, they're just gonna beat him up real fast. Like, why are they not? I expected Bison to be more of a formidable opponent in this section. Were you surprised the direction they went at the beginning?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I wrote down even. I was a little upset because it looks like Guile just beats him by kicking him into the console, and it's a
classic spin kicks. Classic
spin kick into your classic spin kick into an old piece of computer technology. You get shocked, yada yada yada.
Yeah, so
every day.
So essentially, Van Damme gives him the trademark spin, the Van Daminator. Raul Julia flies into some monitors and it electrocutes him, right?
Yeah.
And we think Bison's done for. And if you're just seeing it for the first time, you're kind of like, oh, that was it. Like that was the showdown. Like, nah. Then it turns out that Bison's suit has this like you end up finding out later more technically, but his suit has a defibrillator built into it, right?
I didn't even know it went that in depth.
Oh, dude, wait. Well, they show it at the very, very end after the credits. That was like the spoiler. But the point, so while Van Damme's basically bragging that he just beat up Bison and it's over, like let's get out of here, you see Raul Julia stand up in the background, like very Halloween, like it's a shot of Laurie Strode and you see Michael in the background, and you see Raul Julia sit up and you're like, uh-oh, and Raul Julia hits Guile with like these lightning fists, right? And it's so cool because it's like a callback to the game, right? And here comes one of my favorite lines in the movie. It's so good. Van Damme says something like, what happened to the sanctity of unarmed combat? And Bison replies, oh, I'm not using a weapon. This is merely, what does he say? Electric magnets, electromagnetism. And he goes, you may have heard of it. It floats trains from in Japan. It floats or it levitates my desk, and then it pans up on his face. It's so cool and real ominous. He goes, and it levitates me, and just starts floating in the air, and it's so badass, dude. It's so
that's
gangster.
Right. The Tokyo trains are mentioned in a villain speech.
Yeah, it levitates trains. It levitates my desk, and it levitates me. And I'm like, oh, dude, I got chills. This is so sweet. He floats up, and you just see the color drain from Van Damme's face, like, oh, no. Oh, no. And then for the next 2 or 3 minutes, Bison is just wiping the floor with Van Damme. He's throwing him all over the room. He's flying down and kicking him and punching him.
And you truly think this is it. They sell it well.
Yeah, dude. Van Damme. And it's not often that Van Damme really takes a beating in a lot of his movies. And in this one, Raul Julia is beating him brutally, like just smacking him around.
It's true. He really doesn't.
Yeah,
lose
like he's
often.
usually too busy doing a front flip through fire to lose a fight.
Hitting somebody in the most inconvenient way. That's how I just like to describe it.
Utilizing a split to avoid a rocket or something, you know?
You want me to punch you in the face? Too easy. Let me flip 6 times and kick you from behind.
Yeah, I'm going to spin kick this can into your head and then just throw a grenade into the can. And say something like, I've come to collect the fees. Whatever his crappy lines are. But, of course, Raul Julia comes in for this sweet, levitating, I'm going to kill you, like, here's the death stroke, and Van Damme comes back with another Van Daminator, spin kicks Bison into an even larger set of monitors. He went from smaller monitors to the bigger ones.
Right.
And at this point, he's dead. Like, right? There's an explosion.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely dead. That's, that's the vibe we're getting, right? And now there's a self-destruct, and everyone has to hurry up and get off the murder island before the island explodes, or the base explodes, right? Except
for our 2 sacrifices here. Blanca and Dalsum decide to stay back, because for some reason, which was a subplot I missed,
they're gonna get their peace. Is this they don't want to be evil? Or?
I don't know. Dalsum's like transformation. I know Bison picks him up by the neck, right? Is that how he gets like the neck ring at some point?
I think
like they never show his arms or
when
anything.
The guards find out that Dalsum's helping Blanca out, they throw him into some kind of equipment, and that's where he gets the traditional. He has the chain around his throat and he's bald. He looks like he does in the video game at the end.
Yeah. But they just kind of skipped over that part.
You're right. He does kind of go, well, it's probably better off that we're dead or something. I don't understand the logic.
Yeah, something like his guilt for turning Blanca into a monster means he has to be responsible for him, because if a good man does nothing, that still makes him a bad man, and Blanca isn't ready to be back in the world because he's not human, he's still a monster.
What the
So he just would rather die. Hey.
This is Street Fighter. Why are we what is going on?
We're getting to some existential
yeah, like, and you know what? Here, and this isn't the first time that, like I said early in the film, Raul Julia does this whole gimmick about how God had sent the devil down to earth and he's gonna this movie gets weirdly existential at a couple times, and you're like,
"It does."
Am I watching a video game movie, or what is this?
Yeah, they. I think we're trying now. Is this before or after Masters of the Universe?
I think this is after, because we're 94. I think.
I feel like they're trying to do a similar thing, like take a very childish, because they tried to go super serious with that too, which I think could be a nice follow up to this, or somewhere down the road. Like take very. Well, I guess we're still doing that, right? That's how Marvel makes their money. Very childish things and turns them serious. So, never mind.
I don't know. Well, so essentially Guile finds Blanca and Dalsum and is like, let's get out of here. This place is going to blow. They do we must atone for our sins or something.
Yeah.
Eventually, Zangief realizes that he's been working for the wrong side all along, and he decides to join up with the
guys. He saves the day.
Yeah, he does save the crew. You're right.
Not only do we learn that Zangief wasn't paid for any of this, poor guy, but his transformation.
You're getting paid? That's a great. I forgot him. That's a great scene. He's like, if you know Bison is evil, why do you work for him? And he's like, because he pays me a fortune. And he goes, you're getting paid?
Yeah. And then he's just been lugging luggage and stuff around for him for no reason.
He's like, oh, well, that sucks.
But, I mean, talk about timing. His transformation happens right when they need a gate open. Mm-hmm. And he's on the other side of that gate.
Yeah.
But
Zangief saves the crew and now is one of the good guys. And they end the film with this really cool, epic... It's like they were trying to recreate, like, the cover of Street Fighter or something. Like, where they got all the players line up and they all got their cool stance. And they get this really cool shot... this still shot of them all posing, and then the Street Fighter logo comes down, and we're done. Except we're not, because as the credits roll, they're playing a news broadcast about essentially what had just happened, right? Like it's some news reporter kind of glossing over what happened. And as this is going on, it's showing a shot of Bison's destroyed fortress, at which point it comes up to a dead General Bison on the floor. And on the computer on the wall, it says, activate defibrillation sequence or something. And Bison's suit, while he's dead on the ground, starts pumping his heart. So he starts jerking on the floor because his suit's resuscitating him. And then you see his heart restart, and then the movie ends.
My God. The only way that could get better is if the bank account magically had $20 billion.
I'm just saying, it was cool. There's a lot of crappy little...
I actually didn't stay... I mean, I didn't even wait for my own DVD to finish. I was like, all right, that's...
You saw the Street Fighter logo, and you were like, oh, God.
I mean, that was the perfect ending. It was the still shot. It was the classic 90s, Street Fighter font. Like, it was the ending that movie deserved. The extra's cool. But I'm fine with it just ending like that. I mean, truly.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I like the little sneaker at the end for the people who were willing to stick around.
But they didn't make a second one, right? There's no other. There's been reboots. They've tried more serious times,
which I think failed even worse than this release.
Yeah,
but
I think you can't. This isn't Mortal Kombat. The subject matter can't be too serious.
And honestly, in those 90s Mortal Kombat movies, they shouldn't have gone past the first one either. I think there was just enough. The set was a disaster enough for them to go, we're not doing this again.
I mean, that's still another one I have to see.
You haven't seen Mortal Kombat?
I'm telling you, the fighting games are my weakest games. I own a lot of them. I'm just very poor at them.
Well, I guess, folks, you know what's coming up soon. No, we have to save Mortal Kombat for an anthology because
I think
there's a lot to talk about there.
I think Masters of the Universe would be a good follow-up to...
I think Masters of the Universe would be a great follow-up.
Get some Dolph in our lives, get people excited.
Dolph's the man. You know what? And we're ultimately gonna end up doing like Universal Soldier at some point, I'm sure. And that's where you got Dolph and Van Damme, and it's so good. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Adam, would you tell people that this is a good movie?
Actually, yeah. If you take it for what it is, honestly, compared to let's compare this to Over the Top. Objectively speaking, this makes more sense.
Yeah, well, it's definitely more exciting. It's definitely faster paced. It's funnier. There's a lot of stuff happening in front of you where Over the Top kind of has this like bum beep bum bum.
There is some filler, but at least it's cohesive. The whole movie stays put. I guess Over the Top's cohesive in the fact the kid just bolts, but like it feels janky in bits.
Running for the 15th time.
Yes. Yeah.
So you know what, Adam, I would agree with you. I would say the same thing. I think if people ask me how I felt about this movie, I would tell them to absolutely watch it.
Yeah, I'm not upset that I bought it. I'm glad to add it to my collection.
You know what? Unlike Over the Top, though, I would be comfortable watching this film with a girl or my kids or something like that.
Yeah.
It actually, I think, would translate better,
Well, again, it's more fun subject matter. It's just a goofy, fun fighting game. You're not talking about father abandonment and... a follow-up to last week's episode. Somebody's dad was a truck driver during the 80s era, and he asked his father if it's anything like Over the Top. And happy to report...
Yes.
No.
Oh, I got so excited, dude.
Not at all.
You got my hopes up so high and just ripped them away from me, bro. How could you do that?
Yeah, I was let down, but... At least we know. We have real field knowledge now.
I guess that ruins my dream. I guess I'm just gonna have to become a warlord instead.
Fine, it's fine. I can be the creature in the tank for you if you want me. Just watching VR all day.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. I'm so glad we did this movie though. I love it. You should definitely watch it. Watch it.
Yeah,
definitely watch it. This is a great one.
We got to come up with a scale, like a 1 out of 5 or something.
I give this...
Or like an A rating, double
I give
A,
this 10 Van Daminators.
How many Raul Julia's would you give it?
I give
I mean,
this.
this movie is more. This
I
movie
give
is
this
more Raul Julia
11
than-
out of 10 General M. Bisons. No, honestly, Raul Julia is worth it. Van Damme is mostly worth it. And just if you got any kind of video game nostalgia, that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, Street Fighter's one of the easiest fighting games out there because you just move the buttons in semicircles to do the combos, guys. It's pretty simple. So,
Well, it
it's not as
translates pretty
technical as
well.
Mortal Kombat. What?
I think they translated that well in the movie. I think
Yeah,
they
they
made it accessible for almost everybody. I think it's very digestible.
Fighting, they did it well. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's G.I. Joe, but it's just,
Yeah.
it's G.I. Joe, but with Street Fighter names, and it's cool.
And you know what? If you ask me, that's a win.
Absolutely,
That's a total win.
It's two great franchises becoming one right there.
All right. Well, everybody, we appreciate the love. Our numbers are slowly growing on YouTube. I would like to see some more engagement on our Instagram, on our Facebook. Feel free to check us out at
And you.
yeah, the 3 people listening at Action Hero Arcade. All of the social media, we're there. Find us. Give us some love. And hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, for I'm voting Masters, but we'll talk about it. We'll see. We'll come up with something.
And if we do, if we're
way.
doing Masters of the Universe, next week's intro is gonna open up with that classic. And I wake in the morning and I step outside and I.
Oh yeah, yes.
Thank you again. Please come back and listen to us, and keep on rocking in the free world.
Cool. Thanks
Ow.
for watching. See ya.
See ya.